The disappearance of the gas station attendant in The Vanishing at Route 66 is one of the game's most unsettling moments, playing into themes of isolation, supernatural repetition, and psychological horror. Unlike traditional jump scares, this scene builds dread through subtle environmental storytelling and the slow realization that something is deeply wrong. At first, the attendant appears to be a normal, if slightly off-putting figure, perhaps making odd remarks or behaving in a way that feels just slightly unnatural. He might warn the player about the road ahead, mention strange occurrences, or simply watch them with an unsettling stillness. His presence initially provides a false sense of human connection in an otherwise desolate setting. However, when the player returns to the counter after exploring the gas station or attempting to leave, the attendant is suddenly gone. There's no sound of him walking away, no trace of where he might have gone, just an empty space where he once stood. The silence becomes oppressive, and small details begin to stand out. Maybe the cash register is now broken, the lights flicker differently, or the radio static grows louder. The absence of the attendant suggests that he was never truly there, or at least not in the way the protagonist perceived him. This disappearance serves multiple narrative purposes. First, it reinforces the idea that the gas station exists outside normal reality, possibly trapped in a loop or haunted by past events. The attendant could be a ghost, a figment of the protagonist's unraveling mind, or even a premonition of the player's own fate. Second, it isolates the player completely, removing the last semblance of human presence and leaving them alone with whatever lurks in the shadows. The scene is reminiscent of urban legends about phantom hitchhikers or ghostly figures who vanish without explanation, tying into Route 66's real-world reputation as a highway filled with eerie tales. The attendant's disappearance isn't just a scare, it's a signal that the rules of reality no longer apply, and that the protagonist may already be doomed to vanish just like him. There's something deeply unsettling about a place that should be alive with the hum of neon signs and the occasional chime of a doorbell, but is instead swallowed by silence. In The Vanishing at Route 66, the gas station attendant's sudden and unexplained disappearance isn't just a moment of shock. It's the point where the game's eerie atmosphere crystallizes into something far more sinister. When the protagonist first walks into the gas station, the attendant is there, maybe leaning against the counter with an air of boredom, or perhaps staring just a little too intently, as if waiting for something. His dialogue, if he speaks at all, is laced with an unnatural cadence, like a recording played back slightly wrong. He might mention the weather, ask an odd question, or simply watch in silence, his presence both mundane and unnerving. The player might brush it off as just another quirk of a lonely roadside stop, but the seed of unease is planted. Then, after wandering the aisles, checking the restrooms, or stepping outside to inspect the car, the player returns, only to find the counter empty. The attendant is gone. Not just gone, but erased. There's no sound of footsteps retreating, no jingle of keys, no engine starting in the distance. The space behind the counter feels like it's been vacant for years, the layer of dust undisturbed. The cash register might be broken now, its display cracked and dark, or the radio might suddenly blare static as if tuning into a frequency from another time. This moment is more than just a disappearance. It's a fracture in reality. The attendant's absence forces the player to question, was he ever really there? Was he a ghost, a memory, or something worse? The game plays with the idea that Route 66 is a liminal space, a highway where lost souls and forgotten tragedies linger. The attendant could be a remnant of a past event, a victim of some long-ago crime, doomed to repeat his last shift before vanishing all over again. Or perhaps he was never human at all, but a lure, a way to draw the protagonist deeper into the gas station's nightmare. The true horror lies in the implications. If the attendant can disappear without a trace, what's stopping the same thing from happening to the player? The game's grainy VHS aesthetic, with its flickering lights and distorted visuals, reinforces the idea that reality is unstable. The longer the protagonist stays, the more the gas station feels like a pocket dimension, somewhere between life and death, past and present. And then there's the chilling possibility that the attendant didn't disappear, that he's still there, just not in a way the player can perceive. Maybe he's watching from the shadows, his face pressed against the glass when the protagonist isn't looking. Maybe he's the one whispering through the radio static. Or maybe, in another loop of time, the protagonist is now the attendant, doomed to stand behind that counter for eternity, waiting for the next traveler to walk in, only to vanish all over again. The disappearance isn't just a scare. It's the moment the game whispers its darkest truth. You were never meant to leave. There's something deeply unnatural about the way the radio crackles to life in the Vanishing at Route 66. It doesn't just play, it intrudes, cutting through the silence like a knife, its signal wavering between distant music, garbled voices, and stretches of white noise that feel almost alive. This isn't background ambiance. It's a warning, a distress call from someplace or sometime that no longer exists. When the protagonist first enters the gas station, the radio might be silent, or perhaps murmuring some faint, forgettable tune. But as the night wears on, the signal begins to degrade. A song cuts out mid-chorus, replaced by a news bulletin that's just slightly off. The reporter's voice too slow, the date wrong, the events described sounding like echoes of a tragedy that hasn't happened yet. Or maybe it already has. The words loop and stutter, repeating fragments of warnings. Missing on Route 66. Last seen near the old gas station. If you hear this, don't stop. Then comes the static. Not the empty hiss of a dead channel, but something thicker, more deliberate, as if the noise itself is trying to form words. If the player listens too long, the distortion begins to take shape. Whispers in the chaos, a voice calling their name, or worse, a scream abruptly cut short. The radio becomes a conduit, a bleeding wound between worlds, broadcasting horrors from some unseen dimension where the gas station's nightmare never ended. The true terror of the broadcast isn't just what it says, it's what it doesn't. The longer the protagonist listens, the more the environment reacts. Lights flicker in time with the static. The walls seem to breathe. The gas station's reality frays at the edges, revealing glimpses of something lurking beneath. Bloodstains that weren't there before, faces in the windows, the distant sound of a car crash that never stops happening. The radio isn't just reporting the horror, it's feeding it, pulling the protagonist deeper into the story with every distorted word. And then, the final twist. The realization that the broadcast might be coming from them. A time-displaced echo of their own panicked voice, trapped in an endless loop of static. Or perhaps it's the last transmission of the missing attendant, his final moments playing over and over, a ghostly reminder that no one ever really leaves Route 66. By the end, the radio isn't just a prop, it's a character, a malevolent presence that watches, whispers, and waits. Tune in for too long, and you might just hear your own voice joining the static. There is something profoundly wrong with the radio in the Vanishing at Route 66. It doesn't just play, it breathes. When you first notice it, the sound is almost comforting. A tinny oldies station crackling through the speakers, the kind of forgettable background noise you'd expect in a nowhere gas station on a lonely stretch of highway. But then, the song stutters. The melody warps, slowing down like a record left too long in the sun, the singer's voice deepening unnaturally before cutting out entirely. Not the empty white noise of a lost signal, but something hungry. It hisses and pops like grease on a griddle. And if you listen too closely, you start to hear things in it. Whispers threading through the chaos. A voice, or something imitating one, calling your name in a tone that's just a half beat too slow, like a tape dragged through molasses. The broadcast returns in jagged fragments. A news bulletin about a missing motorist, the details too familiar. The car description matches yours. The date is tomorrow's. A preacher reciting scripture, his voice fraying into a wet, choking gurgle. A child singing a nursery rhyme, their pitch-perfect melody dissolving into screams. The radio isn't just picking up signals. It's tuning into memories, pulling tragedies from the road's past and playing them back for you like a deranged DJ. At first, the voices are indistinct, but the longer you stay, the clearer they become. They start commenting on things they shouldn't know, the items you've picked up, the doors you've opened. One whisper perfectly mimics the gas station attendant's last words to you. Another describes in vivid detail what you're doing right now, as if narrating your every move to some unseen audience. That static isn't interference. It's the sound of the gas station itself, the building's rotten bones grinding together as something stirs in the crawl spaces. The voices are trapped in the plaster and wiring, souls bleeding through the structure like a bad signal. The radio is just a mouthpiece, a way for the hungry dark to talk back. There is a special kind of dread that comes when an engine refuses to turn over. At first, it's just an inconvenience. You twist the key, and instead of the familiar growl of ignition, there's only a weak, wheezing click. The dashboard lights flicker like dying fireflies. You try again. Nothing. Again. Silence. The car, your only tether to the world beyond this cursed stretch of Route 66, has become a dead metal husk. But this isn't just bad luck. This is the road claiming you. The car was fine when you pulled in. No warning lights, no stuttering engine. Now, under the sickly glow of the gas station's flickering neon, it's as if the vehicle has been drained of life. The headlights, once bright, are dim and jaundiced. The radio, even when turned off, murmurs static under its breath. When you pop the hood, the engine looks wrong, not broken, but altered. The metal is too clean, the wires too still, as if the machinery has been holding its breath for years, waiting for you to return. You check the battery, the fuel line, the spark plugs. Everything is in place, but nothing works. The car doesn't just fail to start, it refuses, like a horse digging its hooves in at the edge of a cliff, as if it knows something you don't. Then comes the sound. A slow, wet thump from the undercarriage, like something has been clinging beneath the car this whole time. Now it's letting go. The dread settles deeper. This isn't mechanical failure, it's sabotage. The gas station doesn't want you to leave. Maybe the attendant did something while you were inside. Maybe the thing in the radio has been whispering to the engine. Or maybe, and this is the thought that coils like cold wire around your ribs, the car was never really yours to begin with. Because when you look closer, the license plates are wrong. The registration in the glove box has a name you don't recognize. The air smells faintly of someone else's cologne, someone else's sweat. This car belonged to the last person who stopped here. And now it belongs to you. Just like the gas station. Just like the whispering dark. You could try to walk, of course. But the road stretches endlessly in both directions, and the headlights of oncoming cars never seem to get any closer. The engine won't start because you're not supposed to leave. You were never leaving. You've always been here. Turn the key again. Click. Again. Click. Again. Silence. The first time you turn the key, the engine doesn't even cough. It just gives a single metallic sigh, like a prisoner resigning himself to his cell. The sound is all wrong. You've heard dead batteries before, flooded engines, bad starters. This is different. This is the sound of something that was never meant to run again. You check the fuel gauge, half full. The battery terminals are clean. The keys haven't changed in your pocket. Yet when you try again, the silence is absolute. No click, no grind, not even the whisper of a dying electrical system. It's as if the entire vehicle has simply forgotten how to be a car. That's when you notice the details. The steering wheel is ever so slightly off-center, the way it might be after an accident. The rearview mirror reflects a back seat that seems darker than it should be, as if someone is sitting there, patiently waiting for you to turn around. The odometer, which definitely read 87,342 miles when you parked, now shows all zeros. Outside, the gas station lights hum louder, their neon glow stretching shadows that don't quite match the objects casting them. The pump you used earlier now reads out of order in peeling letters, though you swear it was working fine 20 minutes ago. You pop the hood. The engine looks familiar, but wrong. Too clean. The oil cap is missing. The dipstick comes up dry, yet there's no leak beneath the car. And when you run your fingers along the valve cover, the metal is cold. Not hasn't run in hours cold, but buried in permafrost cold. A sound makes you turn, a slow, wet creak from the driver's side wheel well, like something moist shifting its weight. The car door locks itself, not with the reassuring thunk of power locks, but with the finality of a tomb sealing shut. The keys still dangle from the ignition, but now they won't turn either way. The radio crackles to life on its own, playing that same fragment of song you heard when you first pulled in, except now you recognize it. It's the chorus from 16 Tons, that old line about another day older and deeper in debt. The headlights flicker once, twice, then stay on, illuminating the empty road ahead where the asphalt seems to ripple like the surface of a black pond. In their glow, you can just make out the footprints leading from your driver's side door to the gas station. Your shoes made those prints, but you don't remember walking here. The engine finally makes noise again, a single hollow knock from deep in the block. Then another, then a third, in perfect rhythm. Knock, 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 like someone politely requesting entry from inside the oil pan. The car isn't broken. It's been reclaimed, and now it's time for you to go inside. The gas station's door creaks open on its own. The attendant is waiting. You've always been here. You'll always be here. Turn the key one last time. The engine starts right up. The road ahead has never looked so empty. There comes a moment, subtle at first, then horrifyingly undeniable, when the gas station stops pretending to be real. It starts with the flicker. A brief stutter in your vision, like a film reel skipping a frame. The soda machine by the door suddenly appears rusted, its decals peeling, then snaps back to pristine condition when you blink. The fluorescent lights above buzz with an unnatural rhythm, their glow pulsing like a weak heartbeat. Shadows stretch too long in corners where geometry shouldn't allow it, and when you turn your head, you catch the walls breathing, just slightly, just enough to make you question whether you actually saw it. Then the textures begin to decay. The linoleum floor peels up at the edges like old wallpaper, revealing something dark and wet beneath. Not subflooring, but something organic, veined and glistening. The snack packages on the shelves lose their brand names, their labels dissolving into garbled nonsense before your eyes. The glass door reflects a version of you that's slightly off. Maybe your hair is longer, or your clothes are different, or the reflection blinks when you don't. Time becomes untrustworthy. You check your watch, 2:17 a.m. You look away, then back. It now reads 9:43 p.m. The date on the newspaper by the register keeps changing. Sometimes it's from last week, sometimes from decades ago, sometimes from a year that hasn't happened yet. The television behind the counter plays nothing but static, yet you keep catching glimpses of movement in the noise. A figure standing where you're standing, their mouth open in a silent scream. The air smells like ozone and something older. Damp earth, rotting flowers, the electric tang of a storm that never breaks. Your footsteps echo louder than they should, the sound lagging half a second behind your movement, as if the building is struggling to keep up with your existence. When you touch the counter, your fingers sink slightly into the surface before it solidifies again, like pressing against the skin of something alive. Then the world tears. For one heart-stopping moment, everything goes black. Not darkness, but absence, and you're floating in a void where the gas station used to be. In the distance, you see other shapes, other versions of the building, some burning, some overgrown with vegetation, some submerged in black water, and in each one, a shadowy figure that might be you. The scene snaps back with a sound like a broken bone resetting. Now the exit signs are in a language you don't recognize. The snacks on the shelves have become unrecognizable lumps of meat wrapped in yellowed paper. The payphone rings with no one on the other end, just wet, labored breathing. You realize with dawning horror that you're not seeing glitches, you're seeing truth. The gas station is a wound in reality, and what you took for a roadside stop was never really a building at all. It's a memory of a building, a ghost of one, decaying at the edges as whatever force sustains it grows weaker. Or maybe you're the one decaying. Maybe you've always been here. Maybe you're the glitch. The flickering gets worse. The world stutters like a dying projector. Between each flash, the intervals grow longer, the darkness deeper. Soon, it won't flicker back, and you'll finally see what's been watching you from between the frames this whole time. The first time it happens, you write it off as fatigue, a trick of the light, maybe dehydration from too many hours on the road. But when the gas pump nozzle melts like warm wax in your hand, only to solidify again when you drop it, when the soda can you're holding suddenly weighs twice as much and bleeds rust between your fingers, that's when you know. Something is very wrong with this place. The glitches start small. A flicker of the overhead lights revealing a different arrangement of shelves for a single frame. The faint smell of copper and burnt hair that wasn't there a second ago. The unsettling sensation that the floor just tilted 3 degrees to the left, though your eyes insist it's level. Then the world begins stuttering. You'll turn a corner and find yourself facing the same display of motor oil you just walked past. The clock above the register jumps backward 15 minutes when you're not looking. Your reflection in the glass door mouths words you didn't say. The sound of your footsteps arrives a half-second too late, creating a sickening disconnect between movement and consequence that makes your stomach lurch. The building is rendering wrong. Walls breathe like living things, expanding and contracting when you're not staring directly at them. The pattern on the floor tiles shifts like a kaleidoscope, forming symbols that almost make sense before dissolving again. Sometimes, when you blink, the entire gas station appears abandoned for decades, cobwebbed, overgrown, the roof caved in, only to snap back to normal when your eyelids lift. Then come the missing pieces. A whole aisle disappears between glances. The restroom door now opens into a solid brick wall that definitely wasn't there before. The snack counter displays items that don't exist. Candy bars with shifting wrappers, Soda cans labeled in no language you recognize, bags of chips filled with something that moves when you pick them up. The worst is the sound glitches, moments where all noise cuts out except for a high-pitched whine, and when hearing returns, the world sounds different. Duller, like you're listening through layers of wool. Sometimes the ambient noise loops, the same 3 seconds of buzzing neon repeating endlessly until you want to scream. You try to leave, but the exits keep resetting. The door you just came through now leads somewhere else. The parking lot rearranges itself when your back is turned. Your car is never where you parked it. When you find it, the interior smells like someone else's cigarettes, and the radio is tuned to a station that only plays static and sobbing. Reality here isn't broken, it's corrupted, like a bad sector on a hard drive or a damaged film reel. The gas station exists in multiple states simultaneously, and you're seeing through the cracks between them. Sometimes you catch glimpses of other versions, a burning wreckage, a flooded ruin, a pristine 1950s throwback with different prices on the pumps. And in every version, there's something else here with you. You see it in the periphery, a shape that's never there when you turn your head, a shadow that moves independently, a humanoid outline in the static of the dead TV screens. It's learning how to move through the glitches better than you are. The terrifying realization dawns. You're not experiencing glitches in reality. You are the glitch, a corrupted file in the system, an error this place is trying to reconcile or erase. The more you struggle, the more violently reality distorts around you because you don't belong here. You never did. The final glitch is the most profound. One moment you're standing in the gas station, the next you're not, and you never were. But something is still standing there, wearing your face, staring at the spot where you vanished, before the loop resets and another traveler pulls in for gas. The moment comes without ceremony or climax, just a quiet, irrevocable understanding that you will not be leaving this place. You notice it first in the way light stops behaving as it should. Your shadow stretches too far across the concrete, then disappears entirely. The neon signs above the gas pumps buzz and flicker, their glow no longer touching your skin. When you raise your hands before your face, the edges blur like a photograph left in the rain, your very outline beginning to dissolve into the hungry dark. The air grows thick with the scent of ozone and something older, damp earth, forgotten places. Your footsteps make no sound now. The crunch of gravel beneath your boots has vanished, as if you've become a ghost in your own story. The car door won't open no matter how hard you pull. The payphone rings with no one on the other end, just the hollow hiss of dead air. You turn back toward the gas station, but the building is different now. The windows are boarded up. The pumps are rusted husks. A thick layer of dust coats everything, undisturbed for years, except for a single set of footprints leading right up to where you stand. Your footprints. The realization crashes over you like a wave. You've always been here. The attendant behind the counter is watching you with empty eyes. His mouth moves, but the words don't reach you. They're lost in the growing static, the white noise filling your ears. His face is familiar. Too familiar. The edges of your vision darken. The world narrows to a tunnel, then a pinprick. You try to scream, but your voice is gone. Your body is fading, unraveling like smoke in the wind. The last thing you see is your own reflection in the gas station window, but it isn't you anymore. It's the next traveler, the one who just pulled in for gas, the one who will soon realize, as you did, that Route 66 doesn't let go of what it takes. And as the darkness swallows you whole, you finally understand. You didn't vanish. You were replaced. The cycle continues. The The road remains hungry, and somewhere, in the static between stations, your voice still whispers on the radio, waiting for the next lost soul to hear it. The change comes so gradually you almost miss it at first. The way your fingers start to blend with the texture of the counter when you lean against it a second too long. How your reflection in the glass door moves just a hair slower than you do. The moment you realize the buzzing neon lights aren't flickering, you are. You try to leave, but the door handle passes through your palm like smoke. The car keys slip between your dissolving fingers, hitting the pavement with no sound at all. When you scream, the gas station absorbs the noise like a sponge, leaving only a faint echo that sounds like someone else's voice. The attendant watches you with knowing eyes. His face keeps shifting. Sometimes he looks like the mechanic who worked on your car 3 states back. Sometimes like your father. Sometimes like you. His mouth forms words you can't hear but somehow understand. It's always been you standing behind this counter. The world begins to pixelate at the edges. Colors bleed like wet ink. Your memories unravel like a frayed cassette tape. That road trip you took last summer? You never left this station. The family waiting for you at home? They've been gone longer than you can remember. Your body becomes transparent. You watch through fading hands as another car pulls up outside. Your car, with another version of you behind the wheel. The cycle repeats. You try to warn them, but when you bang on the glass, your fists make no sound. The new arrival walks right through you like morning mist. Now you stand behind the counter. The register keys are cold beneath your fingers. The smell of stale coffee and gasoline is as familiar as your own breath. Outside, the desert stretches endlessly in all directions. The road goes nowhere. It never did. When the next traveler walks in, you'll smile that familiar smile. You'll tell them the bathroom's around back. You'll watch the dawning horror in their eyes as they begin to understand. And when they vanish, another will take their place. The gasoline pumps hum their endless song. The neon buzzes. Somewhere, a radio plays the same song it's always played. You've heard it 1,000 times before. You'll hear it 1,000 times again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.